cost. That gives the ability to save some manpower, save some costs, and do some good things with them savings.
Wrapped in Parks and Recreation's signature colors and logo, the Turf Tank is ready to start painting fields throughout our community. To truly make Turf Tank part of our team, it needs a name. Pitch us your best name, and we just might use it for Parks and Recreation's latest high-tech line painting edition.
You, a Louisiana homeowner affected by recent federally declared disasters? The Restore Louisiana Homeowner Assistance Program is now accepting surveys from homeowners affected by Hurricanes Laura and Delta. The survey is the first step in registering for program assistance. If you were impacted by any of these other federally declared disaster events in 2020 and 2021, you may still complete the survey. However, funding has not yet been allocated for these disasters.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Charles Parish Council meeting on May 8th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the parish courthouse. Please silence all electronics and remove all hats. This meeting will be called to order with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance by Pastor Zachary Adams with the Lord's House Community Church in Luling.
And bow your heads with me. Father, we thank you for tonight, Lord. Father, we pray that, God, that as this meeting begins, Father, that your presence is here, Father. Lord, we ask for just your wisdom and your guidance, Father. Father, for our council members tonight, Lord. God, we thank you for today, Father. We thank you for the blessing, Father, of being able to wake up, Father, and live another day. Father, I pray, Lord, that, Father, Lord, we live this day, God, and we finish out this day, Father, putting you first, God, and, Father, doing the best, Father, for our neighbors. Lord, we thank you for all of this, and we ask this in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. First up is the approval of minutes. A motion and a second is needed to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 24th, 2023. I have a motion by Bob Fisher and a second by Marilyn Belloc. Please cast your votes. And that passes with Julia Fisher-Cormier not attending tonight. Now on to special businesses, proclamations, canvases, returns. In recognition, Selah Productions 2023 Winter Participants Discussion. All right, pull this out here. Parish of St. Charles, May 8th, 2023, in recognition. Whereas Selah Productions Incorporated, SPI, is a nonprofit corporation whose mission it is to aspire to inspire others through a powerful message in their public productions, film and television, by producing high artistic quality performances that will capture the attention and audiences across the globe. And whereas SPI educates children, youth, and adults about theater and the performing arts, resulting in enhanced knowledge that will lead to many individuals to career paths in an entertainment industry. And whereas SPI's Javon Ophelius Act mentorship and learning for the Performing Arts Program, or JO Act, provides career preparatory training for children and youth in the performing arts while transforming the community by addressing mental health issues, behavior issues, and poor self-esteem. And whereas JO Act was held at the LaFawn Performing Arts Center January 23rd through February 2nd, 2023, where participants engaged in drama and dance instruction with coaches and provided a showcase performance of A Positive Me, written, directed, and produced by Jovan Ophelia Butler, MPA. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the President, do hereby recognize the 9 participants of the 2023 Winter Joe Act program: Sage Matee, Carmen Smith, Kylie Broomfield, Morgan Garrett, Juno Lachias, Jaden A. Salinas, Jaya Lachias, Sydney Marlborough, and Olivia Marlborough. Ready to come up? All right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Do you have participants here tonight?
Yes.
All right, good. Thank you.
One more. I just would like to thank the council along with Parish President Jewel. We had a very exciting time here in St. Charles Parish. Took us a little while to get in this parish after Ida, but we still was able to have a successful showcase. The parents came, everyone loved it, and so I think the children had a very good time, and so I'm grateful to honor them on today. They did a really good job in acting, singing, and dancing, and so hopefully maybe in the future we can come back to this wonderful parish and present the performing arts once more. So thank you again for this honor on today.
Thank you. Next, we have reports, finance and administration activities. Item number 2023-0107, Department of Planning and Zoning. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to start off by thanking the council and the parish president. I'm happy to present the report for the department for 2023. As you know, our department consists of 4 distinct divisions, each specializing in different aspects of our collective goal: land use planning, coastal management, code enforcement, and permitting. Each of these divisions operates independently, but all of their work is interrelated. 2022 was a busy year for us. A lot of that year was spent during the comprehensive plan update, which was adopted. I'm proud to say that's the second update we've done on the plan following the 5-year schedule. It was brought in on time and on budget, time considering COVID issues, but that's not our fault. We took care of a large-scale ordinance amendment for solar farm regulations that was passed by this council earlier this year. And we were, I want to say successful, but we tried to be as helpful as we could with some of the incident responses to the emergencies that happened later in the year. Our staff was out in the field during the night of those events and promptly in the mornings cataloging some of the property damage and trying to help residents alongside EOC throughout the duration of those events. Our department is organized with those 4 divisions, each coming under an administrator. A couple things to note: I know you all have seen this before. The inspectors up there are listed at 5. We currently have 6 and are looking to hire a 7th this year. So our efforts in code enforcement are expanding. One of the major changes that we've had is Ms. Marnie Stein has promoted to Coastal Zone Management Administrator. We're all aware Earl is planning to retire in a few years, so we're trying to plan ahead and make sure we have staff in place to fill those vital roles. At the same time, Chris Welker promoted into our senior planner spot. A lot of the reports you see, almost all of the reports you see, come from his desk. He started with us as a planner one prior to our reorganization, so we're proud of that. Construction permitting. What you're seeing this year is starting to return to form. A lot of our numbers are back to where they would traditionally be. The only exception to that really being the renovations. We're still seeing a lag. There's more renovation permits coming in as people's insurance money and materials become available. We are still the chairperson for the Construction Code Council, so we have an outsourced or outweighed vote in how the budget is prepared for South Central's Code Construction Council. Major subdivision activity consisted mostly of Heather Oaks and River Road Estates with their second phases and the new construction that's been going on. We have 2 current applications under review, which will probably be going to the Planning Commission possibly in June, maybe later. It depends on how they fare under the new review process. Our land use applications have held steady. We haven't seen any significant changes in that, aside from the dip in 2021, but it just kind of shows how resilient things are, and that when it comes to like the core of land use and what people are doing with their property, we've held consistent even after damage was caused. Code enforcement, we are dealing with a tremendous caseload on all fronts right now. The team works very hard to close permits, post cases, and take care of a variety of special field projects. We'll get questions from the council or the administration asking us to look into a property. A lot of times the inspectors are the first people to go out and do those investigations. These guys balance a particularly difficult job. You know, they are out there trying to assist residents on both sides of a complaint. So a lot of times they find themselves playing mediator or trying to get to the truth of the matter, and that's not always easy. Comprehensive plan adoption. As I mentioned earlier, this 10-year update was adopted late last year. A supporting resolution from this council, which we appreciated, was done early this year once the copies were available. What we updated in this plan consisted of the future land use map, population projections, the goals and policies, and it reports on the progress from the initial 2011 plan. The implementation section really goes into depth on what was accomplished, what's yet to be done, and what priorities have changed, like why they've come out or have been added in. A lot of resident response went towards that, as well as cooperation from the directors. Skip over to Earl for a moment and let him do the coastal slides.
As you know, the St. Charles Coastal Program, the official local coastal program, went into effect in 2017. The local program was able to process 9 permits locally, which kept that decision local instead of those decisions being made in Baton Rouge. It's a little bit of a lag, but that's because most of these were areas where, you know, big slowdown because of Ida. That these permits are generally in effect a few months before they even get to us, so there's even a farther lag than just regular stuff we see. I expect it to last the rest of the year. We did permit everything from a single-family home to expansions of the local industry without them having to deal with state government at all. When I spoke to you last, I said we were in the process of renewing the contract with the state of Louisiana. That has been done so for fiscal years 23 through 25. And then, of course, it's already been mentioned that Marnie is the new Coastal Zone Management Administrator, the job I sat in for so many years. So probably next year she'll be the one sitting up here doing this. We did have our Christmas tree project this year. It was a little bit smaller than previous years. We only had about 3,000 trees. We normally average 5 to 7. But again, we had a lot of folks living in campers. So it was kind of hard to put a big live Christmas tree in a camper. So we understand that. The big announcement with as far as coastal zone goes, is that for a number of years you've been hearing about PO 75. PO 75 is Pontchartrain Basin. It's the next big coastal project in the parish. If you remember, a number of years ago, there was a dedicated dredging project that filled in a 400-acre pond in the La Branch wetlands. Well, this is an extension to that and some shoreline work, and it's going to account for about 1,200 acres of open water that's going to be turned into marsh. The project has gone to bid and has been awarded. It hasn't been officially named yet. We just know it's been awarded, but the state hasn't released the actual documents, so I won't say the name of the contractor. But we expect construction this summer, and it's a 500-day run. The only other update I have, and I want to make sure I get the numbers correct, is that last year when I came in, I told you guys we were working to go through FEMA's requirements for looking at substantially damaged homes. Last year when we were at this meeting, I told you there were 600 homes we still had to look at. We've been working on that list for a year, but about 9 months ago, FEMA came back and said, don't worry about it. We've got a new consolidated list for you. And we said, great. But it was 897 structures they want us to look at. We finally got that down to a list of 102. And as of today, the last count, we're at 87 homes that we still have to look at for FEMA for substantial damage. So anybody's out there that is on FEMA's list, we'll be in touch soon.
Including Miles. And I just want to say, like, as part of that, the record keeping and the staff work on that has really made a burden a lot of residents didn't know they had much easier. So I'd like to commend them for that. I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that my staff makes my job, which not always easy, much easier. So I do appreciate that. Just want to acknowledge Marnie. She's worried I'm going to make her speak, but I'm not. So thank you all for your time, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Okay, thank you both very much. Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Michael, I just want to thank you and your staff for all of the work that you all have done, from the tornado victims, even going out to meet with residents to talk about the issues that they've had to put their property back into compliance. I want to thank you and your staff for everything that you've done.
Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, your job is impossible. A while back, they had talked about having in-house inspectors instead of using South Central Planning. Was that ever really a serious consideration? And is that something that we're going to try to do, or are we walking away from that?
That's a decision that the administration and the council will kind of have to put together in terms of the cost and the personnel needs. So previous administration, when we looked at it in terms of cost, it was not worth it at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have a lot of capacity with South Central, and they are on retainer, and they have qualified staff. It's challenging to hire building officials. CBOs are a difficult job to recruit for. It is possible, if it is desired, that we're going to go that direction.
That's not something that we're going towards.
No, we can switch gears and move towards that if it's ever the point that the council and administration wants to go to, but no, not right now.
As far as the Heather Oaks subdivision, did you run into any other major problems with that going forward, or is it completed now, both phases?
No, we haven't had any other issues. It's mostly been out of my office.
Okay.
I think they're working on completing the phase 2 construction plans. Yeah, it's not.
And to Earl, for the Christmas tree, why can't they just use regular tree debris instead of having to wait for Christmas trees once a year?
Because if I use Christmas trees, the state covers part of the expense, and It's automatic permitting, and it's really simple. If we do regular tree debris, they consider us a Class 3 landfill. There's an exception in the state law for Christmas trees,
Just 'cause it's
but
like a
not for
recycle.
regular tree debris.
Well, maybe on the years when we run short, we could supplement that shortage going forward.
Well, I've joked about using the 200 or 300 fake trees I get every year, that those would last
Last
longer,
longer,
but
right.
the state was not amused by that either.
All
Any
right.
tree is a Christmas tree with enough decorations.
Thank you.
Mr. Jewell.
Thanks, Michael, and thank you, Earl, for all y'all doing. Marnie as well, thanks for being here. Earl, something that's come up recently that we've seen, in fact, Councilman Fonska brought it to me, was that some of these newer subdivisions, to get around these new risk rating rules, are doing LOMARs, or I saw it now, it's a LOMC, a letter of map correction, change. For maybe anybody watching at home, can you just talk about that real quick and talk about what the requirements are and just hit on it because they do come through your office?
Sure. There are two things. One's called a letter of map revision, and one's called a letter of map amendment. A letter of what we're talking about in particular subdivisions is indeed called a LOMAR-F, which means letter of map revision for fill. There's a C that gets thrown around in there. It's a CLOMAR, which means it's a conditional letter of map revision. That would be where basically you go to FEMA and said, if I did this, can I have this? And they say yes. So the conditional is usually skipped in this case. Basically what it is, it's if you take your base flood elevation, specifically the one that's effective right now, the one that is the one that your insurance is based on, not our additional requirements, but that basic map, is that if you take your lot as fill, now naturally we don't want to encourage fill all in every place, but this is FEMA program, it's a federal program, we don't have any control over it. But if you take your lot and you take that elevation in fill alone, so that if you were to cut a razor slice through that lot, you would hit nothing but driveway and dirt, okay? Then you can actually take your property out of the special flood hazard area. In other words, you'd go from an AE, which is what, generally folks, when they talk about being in a flood zone, they're in a special flood hazard area or an AE flood zone. It would take them out of that into an X zone. Now, in the past, we would say that's a drastic reduction in the flood insurance rate. With risk rating 2.0, it really doesn't change your flood insurance rate. But what it does change, or what it may change, is your requirement to carry flood insurance.
Earl,
Okay?
to be specific, you're talking about the individual's lot within the special flood hazard zone.
The individual lot. Actually, usually it's not applied for until after the home is built, because they want to be able to see on your elevation certificate, there's a number that's called your lag, your lowest adjacent grade, that the lag on the house is above the base flood elevation. Now, specifically in the cases of the newer subdivisions we're having, we know that the future map may be as high as 6 feet. And we've been advising people that if you're going to go for a LOMAR for fill, don't go for the 4. That's what your insurance is based on now. Fill it to 6. Specifically, these two subdivisions you just mentioned were designed to do this. Take it to 6. That way, if the map ever changes to 6, you don't lose that and go back into an AE. You maintain your X zone status.
Earl, last question. Do all mortgage companies recognize LOMARs?
No.
So there's no guarantee if you do it?
There is no guarantee. Well, they have to recognize a LOMAR, but what they don't have to do is change their flood insurance requirement. We know of a couple of lenders that will require flood insurance no matter what flood zone you're in, whether you're in or out of a special flood hazard area. And I know of at least one that if you Lomar yourself out, they don't care. You were in, so they want flood insurance.
And to be specific, just for the people who are watching at home, to get your lag, you have to get a certified, a stamped survey from a surveyor.
Right, and in fact, just to apply for this particular program for a Lomar, a Loma or a Lomar, that does have to go through a surveyor, because not only do you need your elevation certificate, but you also need this form called an MT1, which has to be done by a surveyor, and then it also has to come through us, where we get a chance to actually take a look that, okay, yeah, you've filled, but you're flooding everybody, so you've got to fix that first, that kind of thing. So we do get a chance to look at it.
Thanks.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Michael, I'd just like to commend you on your leadership of your department, because it's come a long way in your tenureship here.
Thank you.
And I think you've done an excellent job. I'd like to commend your staff also because of the flexibility that they have when anything arises to basically switch gears and go do damage assessments and carry that out, which was done twice within the last year, almost 2 years. So, y'all were out there pretty much the next day. So, and it takes a lot of coordination, a lot of work. So thank you. And also thank you for Parish President Jewell for bringing that up. I wasn't going to bring that up, but, we have seen some of the individual lots in the Heather Oaks subdivision be granted by FEMA Lomar's letter of map revisions. I think, and the question was actually posed on Facebook yesterday evening by another resident who heard that was happening. How is this happening? Which it does raise the question, especially since the whole purpose of risk rating 2.0 was to fairly distribute the premiums on those properties that would cost more to rebuild in the event they flooded. So here you have very expensive lots that very expensive homes are going to be built on, and yet they have been granted a Lomar by FEMA. So it's just a little disingenuous, I feel, by FEMA. I know the Lomar process has been in place for a long, long time, but to issue a program like Risk Rating 2.0 and not make some changes with that, it's an out, basically. It could be an out. Now, my other concern was, I think that individual property owners, those who are going to buy real estate, where they're told that, oh, this property has a Lomar, you won't need flood insurance. As you said, they need to talk to their lender, because it's the lender's prerogative on whether or not they have to carry flood insurance. The lender is taking the risk along with them. So FEMA well says the lender has the prerogative, and many lenders may not allow them to not carry flood insurance. So thanks for bringing that up, and just for the viewing public to know, we do know that is happening, that it's available. It's unfortunate that that's happening in the light of Risk Rating 2.0, and FEMA didn't fix that. But, we are challenging Risk Rating 2.0 as of, since it came out, basically, and we'll continue to do so on behalf of our residents. So thank you.
Mr. Gibbs.
Michael, I've told you many, many times in private how much we appreciate everything you've done. I want to do it publicly. Your team is outstanding. Your availability, I can't tell you how much I appreciate. Even some of the really mundane, stupid things I bring to you, you act very professional with me, and thank you for that. And then this flood thing with FEMA, I'm not going to go into it as much, but we're at the mercy of the mortgage companies more than we are at FEMA. I've got many customers that got Lomars, and their mortgage company said they could care less. So everybody needs to be aware of that. And the flood situation with the federal government absolutely stinks. So thank you for all your help.
Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Albert, under code enforcements, I was looking at your before and after picture. You have a trailer that you removed from a property. Mm-hmm. What is the criteria for you to remove a trailer from property?
Well, it's not simply a trailer, but I'll speak about any structure that's damaged. The qualification that we go off of is whether the structure is exposed to the elements, animals, or people. So if in some way the structure is compromised where things can get into it, that's no longer secure, and that's considered to be derelict. In any process where we have a building that's damaged for whatever reason, weather, neglect, anything, we start by requesting that the owner repair the building. So we don't actually condemn structures in St. Charles Parish. What happens is we eventually get to the point where we're forced to take that landowner to court, and the judge orders them to repair the structure or demolish it. So at that point, that's the alternative that they're presented.
Okay, because I know I have quite a few in my area that, one, we get a lot of complaints on. 2, it is derelict. 3, grass violations. And we've been getting this for several, probably more than 5 years. Mm-hmm. Under my first term. So I was just wondering, what can we do about this problem that we're having? Because I believe it's 5, 6 trailers or more that's been empty, vacant, nobody there.
Without putting any specific landowner or property on the spot right now, let us know, let me know, let Corey know. We'll look up the addresses. In most cases, when we get requests like this, we already do have a case on them or something that's open on them. Occasionally, the ownership is challenging, or we're not able to get in contact with the person we need in order to take up to the next step. But I'll be happy to look at any of those and
thank you.
Provide you updates.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Albert. Thank you, Mr. Mathern. Okay, item number 2023-0108, Parish President's Remarks and Report. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Let Samantha get that opened. Okay, I'll start with the Hill Heights update. This is a project that the parish did under an emergency contract, and it is substantially complete. There are a few punch list items left on this project. I wish we had a before and after up there, but we can definitely get y'all some images of the before. The sheet piling that the parish had put in around 10 years ago was laying over nearly horizontally across the canal. And so this turned out really good. The last couple items they have to do, I think mainly, is to reestablish grass growth on the dirt side of the ditch. So I think Miles is going to be hydro seeding that. Right. So they'll be hydro seeding this canal, and they'll complete that project, and we'll look for opportunities in the future to fund the rest of this, the rest of the canal. Going on, St. Charles Parish Day is going to be on Wednesday, May 17th, from 11 to 2 on the Alario patio of the state capitol. That's going to be on the house side. Again, that's going to be in Baton Rouge, 11 to 2 p.m. on Wednesday, May 17th. We're going to be showcasing some local food vendors. Some of our local industry partners will be on hand to speak with our legislators. And so if any of you all have items that you all want to talk to legislators about, that is a great opportunity to speak with them. We hope to see you there. Summer feeding and summer enrichment. Summer feeding for all St. Charles Parish children under 18 years old are eligible to enjoy a free meal and activities throughout the summer, through community services. The program's going to run through June 5th through July 13th, Monday through Thursday, 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the St. Rose Elementary and the Career Early Learning Center at 337 Gum Street in Hawnville. So if you have anyone who is interested, or you know anyone whose kids may be eligible, this is a great program, because as we know, some kids, the only time they're getting a good meal is at school. So we want to continue that for as long as we can throughout the summer for the children. Summer line dancing as well is will be happening through recreation June 8th. So classes will take place Mondays and Fridays, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Registration is going to be open for everyone 18 years or older, and it's an eight-week session, and it's $10 per person. Baseball and softball playoffs. Playoffs for our spring baseball and softball leagues will begin this week on Wednesday. And we want to just wish good luck to all of our athletes. Fall sports registration. Next week on May 15th, fall sports registration will open. Baseball, tennis, volleyball, cheerleading, flag football, and tackle football will be available. The booster clubs voted to move the registration for fall sports in order to start the season earlier and increase participation. Parks and Rec is fully supportive of this change. Again, I want to say that the booster clubs voted to move the registration for fall sports up in order to increase participation, and Parks and Recreation is fully supportive and will work with them to make sure that they have a successful fall sports season. This will also help avoid conflicts with the school system and also ensure that we can start winter basketball season a little bit earlier. Fishtat Rodeo, third annual Fishtat Rodeo is going to be on May 20th at the Bonnet-Carré Spillway. The Lower Guide Levee boat launch. It's a family-friendly event, and all ages are invited to participate. There's going to be food, fun, and great door prizes. There's going to be even a very big special grand prize this year, thanks to Councilwoman Beth Billings. Registration is now open through May 18th. Anglers 12 and under are $5 and $10 for our anglers who are 13 and older, as well as boat captains. East Bank levee update. The Corps of Engineers announced that it has awarded a $22.6 million contract to build 1.8 miles of additional levee between St. Charles and St. John the Baptist. This project will includes all the lifts that will bring the levee in months to 12.5 feet above sea level. The first lift is going to be at 3 feet. That'll be in this year in 2023. The second lift will be at 6 feet in 2024. And the last lift will be up to the 12.5 foot in 2025, the 2025-2026 time frame. So we look forward to months getting that 100-year level flood protection, as well as the rest of the levee continuing on into St. John Parish. That's going to be some great additional protection in the river parishes. Over on the West Bank, we wanted to talk about a pre-construction and engineering on the hurricane storm. The Upper Barataria Basin risk reduction system, and we were able to lead a group of stakeholders, but most importantly, our engineer colonel, Corps of Engineers colonel for New Orleans, Cullen Jones, as well as Eric Swinson, the commander and colonel over at the St. Paul, Minnesota district, who will also be participating in the engineering of the levee. So if you're not familiar, there's a law requiring Congress to spread out the work throughout the core districts, because New Orleans district is always busy, and not all of the other core districts across the state and country have a lot of work to do. So St. Paul, Minnesota will be doing some engineering for us as well. Specifically, the section of levee that they are doing is the section in Lafourche Parish that runs parallel to Highway 90, and that will tie into the DeSalmans floodgate. The chief's report recommended that this project was a favorable recommendation for this project, and it was signed in early 2022. And then the Disaster Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2022 provided $8 million to begin the pre-construction and engineering design. The supplemental funding of the pre-construction engineering design phase not only signifies the urgency of the project for the residents, but also underscores the importance of Southeast Louisiana to the nation. We actually posted a great video online that talked about, and basically the Corps said this is the last major component that they believe is required for Southeast Louisiana. And so that was great news to hear, because that means they're taking this project seriously. They're utilizing that money to start that engineering. And it was a great opportunity to lead them on a tour of really the impressive work that we've been able to do here locally through the generosity of our taxpayers by affirming the levy millage. And so they were impressed with what they saw. We showed them some of the areas that we believe are a little bit more tricky that we would like the Corps to handle. And we are currently underway in other projects that we plan to continue to push in the future while they're doing their work. So we're going to keep pushing for funding for this project. It's $1.5 billion to build the levee from Parish Line all the way to Lafourche Parish to tie into Matthews. And we're going to get creative. We're going to ask for partial funding if we can build it in sections, just to keep this project moving forward. So looking forward to hopefully getting that, hopefully us seeing that through. And that's it for my report.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question in reference to the Waterworks building. So I know it's only open to the public to be able to speak with a representative on Wednesdays. So, and I know now that the drop box has been moved to the actual building on Milling.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Waterworks building is complete, will it go to Monday through Friday normal as is, or?
Our plan is to get back open Monday through Friday, even before the billing office is complete. It is very cramped in the temporary building that we are in, and we do believe that we can get the original building up and running pretty quickly. The contractor's in there working. Yes, we are building it out in a way to allow for more people to work the front desk, to be more efficient up front. It was a very tough decision to have to shut it down, but there was a lack of staffing. We have been staffing up and training. It's very important that the billing clerks that we have are capable and trained to be able to process cash payments, check payments, because we want to make sure that all of that gets reflected accurately on the bill. I've sat in there myself just to see what it is like on Wednesdays when we have cutoffs and whatnot. There are a lot of people who are being processed through that building. So even if we take incremental steps, just adding a day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, our goal is to get back fully open. It's to completely staff up. We're using AM/PM to help us do that as well. And we will hope to be fully back open. And I know the ladies who work in the billing office will be very, very glad to be back into their original building and not be so cramped in there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. All right, moving on to ordinances, resolutions introduced for publication and public hearing, Monday, May 22nd, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chamber, Courthouse, Hahnville. Item number 2023-0109, 2023-0112, 2023-0113. Okay, now we move on to planning and zoning petitions. Item number 2023-0102, an ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish zoning ordinance of 1981 to change the zoning classification from OL to M1 on lots 526, 527, 528, and 529 Sunset Drainage District as shown on the survey by J.C. Lovell, dated October 1st, 1959, municipal address 837 Bayou Gauche Road, Louisiana 306, Parity, as requested by Brant Dufresne on behalf of 1 Mile LLC. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The request on this application is to take the property from open land to manufacturing. The department recommends approval, as does the Planning Commission. This change has actually been shown on the parish's future land use map since 2011, when it was initially put on there, and then again on the recent update. So this has been something that's been identified for quite some time. Thank you.
Okay. File number 2023-0012 is open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. My name is Brent Dufresne. I live at 105 Lake Cyprien, Luling, Louisiana. This building that was manufacturing drilling rigs, in fact, it manufactured the largest drilling rig for land use that was ever built. It was built in 1980. Parish came in and zoned all the land in 81 and put it all in open land instead of where it should have been in manufacturing. I bought it in 2000, and I used it to overhaul big offshore engines for my workboats. And your new plant use map said it should be in M1. Coincidentally, somebody came in right after that and wanted to locate a non-smokestack industry in St. Charles Parish, and they needed 37 acres, and we have 40 acres there. So I'm asking y'all to have a favorable vote on bringing this to M1. Any questions?
Any council discussion? Is there any other public hearing? Seeing none? Any council discussion? Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is in my district, and I have not received any complaints or anything from anybody else. So I'm in favor of this because it's something that we can maybe have a smaller manufacturing facility there. So I appreciate you supporting.
Thank you, Mr. Dufresne. If I neglected to say public hearing is now closed, public hearing is now closed. Please cast your votes for file number 2023-0102. That passes unanimously, with Councilman Julie Fisher Cormier absent. Ordinances scheduled for public hearing produced at previous hearings. Item number 2023-0099, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of professional services agreement with Alpha Testing and Inspection, Inc. to perform testing services for the hydraulic bottleneck near Destrehan, PS number 2, project number P190507, in the not-to-exceed amount of $26,000. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is testing lab services for the project that include vibration monitoring and testing materials such as concrete, soils, geotechnical fabric. It's needed for the project, and we would like your favorable vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you. File number 2023-0099 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0099. That passes unanimously. Item number 2023-0100, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of professional services agreement with Crescent Engineering and Mapping, LLC, to perform surveying services for Bamboo Street drainage improvements, project number P221101, in the lump sum of $26,350. Mr. Bingham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bamboo Street drainage improvements was identified as priority 1 in the Hanville 2 watershed final report of the West Bank Master Drainage Plan. Since we're moving forward with this project at this time, we are getting the surveying done up front before we start engineering. So we request your favorable approval of this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. If there's anyone, item number 2023-0100 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. State your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Ms. Gordon?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Bingham, I definitely want to thank you and your staff for definitely getting this done. It's definitely going to help the residents between Fashion, Low Street, Plantation. So thank you for everything that has been done.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Mr. Jewell?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just want to mention, too, that the surveyor who we're using here also has completed the surveying of the backside of these railroad tracks. That will be the new ditch to accept water for this particular project. We hope to be able to secure that land as a donation from the landowner, and we'll hopefully be bringing that to the council very soon for acceptance, and we'll use our forces to start the new swale on the backside of these railroad tracks, at least giving a place for this water to drain all the way out where it will connect to Vial Canal. So we wanted to mention that as well. There's another part of that project that has been being executed for a little bit of a while now.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Please cast your votes for file number 2023-0100. That passes unanimously. Item number 2023-0101, an ordinance to amend the 2022 Consolidated Operating and Capital Budget to adjust beginning fund balances to actuals and to adjust revenues and expenditures to various funds. Mr. Dewsome.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is our final budget amendment for 2022, which will officially close out our 2022 budget. And as you recall, per our audit standards, we are required to come within plus or minus 5% of actual. And since we're in May, we used our actual numbers for 2022, so they'll be dead on. So this officially closes that out, and then, of course, we'll do the rollover amendment starting after this. So appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. Dewsome. File number 2023-0101 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Please cast your votes for file number 2023-0101. That passes unanimously. Okay, now we will hear resolutions. Item number 2023-0105, a resolution endorsing a waiver of Appendix C, subdivision regulations of 1981, Section 3, geometric standards, C. Lots, 1. Size, as requested by Dunn Homes, LLC, and Jessica Gore. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The applicant's requesting a lot line adjustment, which we would normally handle administratively. They're simply moving a lot line to account for an existing driveway. Because the lots are not 100 foot in depth, there's an area calculation issue that requires a waiver. We have no objection to that, and the Planning Commission approved the minor subdivision, awaiting the resolution on this.
All right, thank you. File number 2023-0105 is now open for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0105. That passes unanimously. Item number 2023-0106, a resolution authorizing the Parish of St. Charles, herein referred to as the governmental unit, to join with the state of Louisiana and other local governmental units as a participant in the Louisiana State Local Government Opioid Legislation Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, and any subsequent formal agreements necessary to implement the MOU, including, but not limited to, execution of the settlement participation forms of the National Settlement Agreements, releases, and other documentation approved by the Council. Mr. Raymond.
I can handle this. Thank you. This is the, as part of the requirement for the local opioid litigation memorandum, this resolution sets forth that the parish is in agreement with the unified plan for the allocation and use of the prospective settlement agreement. Our counsel that we've hired, Mr. Jalea, is actually here to talk more about that at this time, should the council have any questions. If you want to come up and give a little brief summary.
I'm Stephen Gillet with the law firm of Smith & Fowler. We, along with several other law firms, represent the parish regarding claims against opioid manufacturers, opioid distributors, and pharmacies. This council already passed last year approval of the Memorandum of Understanding and the settlement with the manufacturers and the distributors. A second national settlement was reached with the pharmacies, that's Walmart, Rite Aid, Walgreens, and CVS. This will just approve the same MOU applying to that settlement. It's the most generous settlement in the country as far as local governments go. In Louisiana, local governments are receiving 100% of the proceeds. The state is receiving none. Also, the Attorney General required all the attorney's fees to be reduced. So it's a very good deal for all the local governments, including St. Charles Parish. The monies are designated to be spent on opioid abatement according to an exhibit to the MOU. That money is going to be distributed by a task force that's already been appointed and is operating, has already received tens of millions of dollars in the process of interacting with local governments to distribute it from the original settlement with the manufacturers and distributors. And then once the settlement approved, another batch of money will come on down to the task force from the settlement from the pharmacies. These settlement amounts will be paid over a period of 7 to 10 years. And this will also set up the process and continue the process for future settlements. There's several companies in bankruptcy, Purdue, Mallinckrodt, Endo, all of which will hopefully achieve bankruptcy distributions, and St. Charles Parish should be receiving monies from those as well.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
File number 2023-0106 is now open for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0106. That passes unanimously. Okay, so next, a motion and a second is needed to deviate from the regular order of the agenda to take up file number 2023-0114, a resolution requesting that St. Charles Parish join in litigation along with the Louisiana Attorney General against the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to challenge the National Flood Insurance Plan Insurance Program's NIFPA Risk Rating 2.0, a matter not on the agenda. I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca and a second by Mr. Gibbs to deviate from the regular order of the agenda taken up by file number 2023-0114. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak on the deviation, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment on the deviation is closed. Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for the deviation only. That passes unanimously. Okay, now, item number 2023-0114, a resolution requesting St. Charles Parish join in litigation along with the Louisiana Attorney General against the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to challenge the National Flood Insurance Program's NIFIP Risk Rating 2.0. File number 2023-0114 is now open for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Is there any council discussion? Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. This is a resolution supporting St. Charles Parish joining Attorney General Jeff Landry's lawsuit against FEMA. I want to emphasize that it is different from our lawsuit. Our lawsuit is specific to the public records request that we made for the modeling specific to St. Charles Parish. And kind of, when you look at it this way, the crux of our local lawsuit is that we believe the model is a public document. And while I think that is a component of the Attorney General's lawsuit, I would say broadly that the crux of his lawsuit is that the entire program is arbitrary and capricious, and that's what they're going after. The fact that they didn't work with the locals or the state or even the Corps, and the fact that they turned this on administratively without really knowing what the effects would be, that's what the Attorney General is going after. We will be the 36th parish to join this lawsuit. They're trying to get all 64 parishes to join. And it looks like they will potentially file around June 1st in that first week of hurricane season.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Is there any additional council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote for file number 2023-0114. That passes unanimously. A motion and a second is needed to return to the regular order of agenda. I have a motion by Ms. Belloc and a second by Ms. Fonseca. Please cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Appointments. 2023-0110, to accept the resignation of Ms. Katina Summers, St. Charles Parish Board of Adjustment, as the District 6 representative. Please cast your vote to accept the resignation of Ms. Katina Summers on the St. Charles Parish Board of Adjustments representing District 6. And that passes unanimously. All right, now, item number 2023-0111, a resolution appointing a member to the St. Charles Parish Board of Adjustment as the District 6 representative. Council Chairman will accept nomination to the St. Charles Parish Board of Adjustment from District 6 council member to fill the vacancy caused by the resignation of the term of Ms. Katina Summers, unexpired term to begin immediately and expire December 7th, 2025. Do we have a nomination from District 6? Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'd like to nominate Mr. David Blakely.
We have a nomination from Mr. David Blakely. A motion and a second is needed to close nominations. Have a motion by Ms. Fonseca and a second by Mr. Fisher. Please cast your votes to close nominations. And that passes unanimously. Meetings, announcements, and notices, etc. Meetings, Community Action Advisory Board, Wednesday, May 10th, 2023, 5 p.m., Council Chambers. Pontchartrain Levy District, Monday, May 15th, 2023, 6 p.m., Pontchartrain Levy District Headquarters Complex, 2069 Railroad Avenue, Letcher. Library Board of Control, Tuesday, May 16th, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. Board of Adjustment, ZBA, Thursday, May 18th, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. St. Charles Parish Council, Monday, May 22nd, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. Announcements. Notice is hereby given that at its meeting to be held Monday, June 5th, 2023, at 6 p.m., at its regular meeting place, St. Charles Parish Courthouse, 15045 River Road, Hahnville, Meeting, Louisiana, St. Charles Parish Council plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held in the parish of St. Charles to authorize a renewal of ad valorem tax therein, the ARC. Adjournment. A motion and a second is needed to adjourn. A motion by Mr. Fisher and a second by Ms. Gordon. Please cast your votes to adjourn. And that passes unanimously. Have a great evening. We are officially adjourned.